I'm Rich Lieberman, and we are live here on a Sunday. And so I'm reading the various marginal websites that we have here that constant constitute themselves as news. And in this case, it's a sports site talking about the various new hires that is NBC Sports Bay Area. Now, NBC Sports Bay Area carries the Giants and the Warriors and the pre and post game shows for the San Francisco 49ers. And I've been meaning to say this, what I'm about to say, for a while, but I've held off because I've been doing other topics and I've been concentrating more on the real world. The toy department I've sort of put on the back burner, but the toy department in this case, in this market, is such a piece of crap, and it's become in the news without it being officially centered on because nobody takes these bastards on. And look, I realize DEI, this whole DEI movement, has become a big topic of conversation. And I put it aside. I thought it was kind of overblown, right? I thought it was sort of much ado about nothing. But now that I've seen and watched for years now how indeed talent, uh, ability to do a job, the means to be credible, keep going on and on and on, is secondary to what is now the kind of, how can I put this, the karma. I'll give an example. Heard all this much hullabaloo about this new guy, Bonte Hill, I guess. I've heard limited spiels from this guy, and he's okay. There's nothing to write home about. But he checks a certain box. He's been doing the morning show with Joe Shasky, and it's okay. Nothing to write home about. We don't have any sports radio in the Bay Area. We have crap, my opinion, but based on facts, based on personal take, of course. But we have nothing. Anyway, so this Bonte Hill guy, I guess he got a great job offer and had to pass up doing morning sports because they have no money, like pretty much everybody else, including KNBR. But 95.7 The Game, owned by Odyssey, they have no money, so he's going to gallop to have a full-time job at NBC Sports Bay Area. And there was an article written by another little putz who grew up calling sports talk radio, particularly Marty Lurie's show. And now he's the designated scribe, the pimple face, one of the breadcrumbs at the SF Gate that writes supposedly stories with having to do with sports broadcast here. So back to NBC Sports Bay Area. So this Bonte Hill guy, I guess, is going to NBC Sports Bay Area. And they're all basically, if you look at the various shows there, the major shows are all DEI supremos. Most of the people there are underqualified, are boring, are basically bodies who check boxes, who check certain, shall we say, DEI boxes. And that's the ongoing theme these days. And especially at NBC Sports Bay Area, because by and large, the majority of their talent is boring, is basically formula television. In journalism in the local Bay Area, I've talked often about press box or press release journalism, and that goes for the toy department, sports, news, culture, all that shit. And now it's become, well, it's not now, it's been this way for a long time. And now it's at our broadcast entities, the little radio that we have. But I'm going to specifically be more in tune here with regards to NBC Sports Bay Area, because look at the San Francisco 49ers pre and post game show. We have Carlos Ramirez, or is it Ramirez? Excuse me. Carlos Ramirez, the host at the NBC Sports 49ers. And I guess he does some Giants pre and post game shows, but mostly the 49ers. And he's boring and he's superficial and much ado about nothing. Why is Carlos Ramirez there? Because he checks all the boxes, like Bonte Hill. And I'm not one of these guys that, uh, let me rephrase and go back a little bit. In 1978, right? Go back to 1978, and you can Google this. There was a major Supreme Court case, and it was called the Bakke decision. The Bakke decision, Alan Bakke. And what it dealt with, and you can look this up online, you get a much better rundown as to the Bakke decision. It was a big case, a breakthrough case involving what they called at that time reverse racism. And Bakke was this white guy, and I don't want to get into the depths of that, but it at the time, and I was against it. I wasn't that old back then. Uh, Point being, it dealt with reverse racism, and I don't want to make this whole thing about racism and who's this and who's that. It's just that NBC Sports Bay Area is full of a bunch of check the box type of personnel. And that talent is the last of their priorities, and making sure that they have demographics, certain demographics, like a Carlos Ramirez, like a Rod Brooks, in a position to which they can get credit for. Nothing else. And there's something wrong with that. And we become so accustomed to it late that we don't even talk about it. And most people don't even touch it. Why? Because certainly not the Chronicle, SF Gate, the crap that is both of those publications, because they don't want to be targets of reverse racism charges. They are safe. They want to highlight certain people. Why? Because they reflect the culture community. Has nothing to do with, is someone talented? Is someone poignant? Is this person capable of being enlightening? Is this person does this person have any degree of depth? No. They hire these nothings, and not all of them are black or white or yellow or brown or what have you. Gender this, gender that. It's all about fulfilling demographic and acceptance and being in the community. It's all bullshit. And by the way, folks, just for the record, never, ever have applied for a position at NBC Sports Bay Area. Never. That's why I'm able to say this. That's why I'm not worried about repercussions of talking about this, because I'm not beholden to those assholes. And why do I say assholes? Because it's so obvious what they're doing. And they get these bland, that's the worst thing. If most of these people that they hire had any iota of interest or creativity, or dare I say talent, that'd be one thing. But they're all bland. They all make you fall asleep. They all are vanilla, no pun intended, wafers who have no talent whatsoever, and are basically there to fulfill the objective of management and the various corporate owners. That's what Disney is these days. And Comcast, which owns NBC and all their properties, they are all about that. Talent, yeah. Specialty, yeah. They hire these nimbobs, and some of them are interesting. Most of them are not. Most of them are about as interesting as a 2-week-old kumquat in heat. They just don't have it. And again, I thought DEI was overblown, but it isn't. And that's one thing I'll give Trump credit for, is because he's not like a regular politician, which is one of the reasons why he's so popular and why he got a lot of so-called demographics that you wouldn't think were up his alley, like Hispanic Americans, men, African American men who voted for him, is because they too, among everything else, are tired of this shit. And I think a lot of people are fed up. Not because not because some of this DEI bullshit is good, is positive, has good intentions. It's not that. It's because it's so blatant now. And this NBC Sports Bay Area, a lot of their, like I said, a lot of their personnel is straight up the DEI food chain. Are you talented? Have you ever done anything poignant? Have you ever offered up anything unique? No. But you represent a certain look, you represent a certain skin color, you represent all the above, check the boxes kind of a deal, to which we will hire you, or not hire you. And I'm not talking about white guys only, I'm talking about men, women, sexual gender, ethnicity, of course, all of the above. And I'm not railing, by the way, folks, about not having a cultural participation element in hiring. But when it's so blatantly obvious, when that's the only thing that's taken into consideration, which NBC Sports Bay Area, and they're not the only ones, but I'm talking about them specifically here, then you got to mention them. Then you got to talk about them, because it's so fucking obvious what they are involved in, and how it's not just the fact that they do it so obviously, it's that they're allowed to get away with it. And the people that they make this big to do about, and this fucking nothing little putz at the SF gate, this kid named Simon, I don't even know who he is in that regard. I know he's basically a fanboy, and he writes press releases so he can get himself on these various shows, not only at the TV cable outlet there, but on KNBR. He fulfills what they seek, they being the NBC Sports Bay Area. They get publicity out of this, even though their talent is the shits. They really are. Look who they've got there. When's the last time they offered up anything creative, anything unique, anything interesting, anything worthy of your attention, let alone anybody else's? It's all bullshit. Oh, you're black. Oh, you happen to be gay, even though you're not going to say you're gay. You are Asian. You are Hispanic. Oh, you worked at Univision. Well, we're going to hire you because we know that you check all the boxes. Again, you're not going to hear this or read this on SF Gate or the Chronicle or various other publications because they simply are a part of it. They are a part of this sort of cultural mechanism that is very powerful, that fortunately for now is being called out, is being outed themselves. The irony of all ironies. But again, folks, if the people that these putzes, these schmucks, at least if they had some modicum of talent, no matter what they are, who they are, what color of their skin, who they sleep with, whatever. If they at least had some talent, then who gives a shit about anything, right? That's common sense. Instead, we're led to believe that these idiots, these you schmucks that they put on, and we read about them on SFK now. Whoa, how talented they are! When in fact they're boring, boring. Yet they think they can fool us. Well, they may fool you. They sure as hell don't fool me. And yes, folks, I am not applying for work at NBC Sports Bay Area or the Chronicle, God forbid, or any of these outlets, among other things, because I don't fit their demo. I couldn't work for them. I wouldn't work for them. And God willing, I won't even ever be associated with them, other than the fact to call them out and to point out the utter bullshit, the utter fucking bullshit that they themselves are immersed with in the name of equity, hiring, and being culturally sensitive. Well, screw all that. Why don't you do this, NBC Bay Area Sports? Dare I say, consider talent, consider the ability to do the job, and offer some element of interest and creativity, as opposed to just getting somebody on board who fulfills your, shall we say, unofficial quotas, because that's all it's all about now. That's all it is. And for those of you, some of you that didn't know it, well, now you do. And I'm glad I called these assholes out. They need to be called out. Most of their people are plain hires that have nothing to do with credibility, nothing to do with talent. They simply fulfill objectives.